And without further ado, please help me welcome Kenny Biddle of the I Am Kenny Biddle YouTube channel and the Anomalies Research Society. And I'll let him talk a little bit about more of what he does before he gets into things. He's going to be talking about his investigations of paranormal claims. I almost made a mistake and wrote the paranormal investigations, and I'm thinking, it's not his investigations that are paranormal, it's the claims he's investigating that are paranormal. So, as I switch out this PowerPoint presentation, please welcome Kenny.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you for having me back. I really appreciate it. Last time I was here, we got to talk about more methodology, and it was really great. I had some great questions, so it was awesome when they asked me to come back. This is my first time using a microphone doing this, so I apologize if I look awkward. This does not work.
Nope. I need to just slide it on.
There we go. I got it. All right, so just a little bit about myself. So you understand who this guy is. I'm a photographer, an author, blogger, science enthusiast. I investigate paranormal claims. I've been doing so from, I started out as a ghost hunter in '97 and gradually made my way over to the skeptical side, thanks to people like Joe Nickel and Ben Radford, Sharon Hill. They got me over to the skeptical side, and I really got into photography, which helped me understand how all these ghost photos and Bigfoot photos were being made. I produce a video series on YouTube called I Am Kenny Biddle. I also have a blog on Facebook and starting one on Twitter of the same name. I look at claims, investigate places, I investigate gadgets, I investigate viral videos and photographs and stuff like that. I also do a podcast called Geeks and Ghosts, which are, I basically describe it as two idiots get together over Skype and we talk about pop culture and paranormal stuff. And we mostly argue like an old married couple. I've contributed articles to the James Randi Educational Foundation, SciCop, Skeptical Inquirer, and several other magazines that I actually can't read because they're in French and Spanish and Italian. So it's really cool seeing my name, but that's all I can read on the article. I've contributed to some books by Benjamin Radford and Sharon Hill. Sharon Hill just released a book called Scientifical Americans, and I did the photography for the book. And Ben Radford did a book called Scientific Paranormal Investigation, where he referenced my work, and then he's doing a follow-up that's coming out, I think, later this month, that has more stuff in it that I did. I wrote an entire section, a chapter on photography. So I'm excited to see that. I do lectures at both science, skeptical, and paranormal-themed events, which is pretty fun when you go to paranormal-themed events, and I'm the token skeptic guy. I usually wear a T-shirt, and you'll probably see it in the presentation. I have a T-shirt that says token skeptic, and it's bright white so everybody can see it. And I also enjoy Star Wars and rum. So, anybody else a Star Wars fan? Yes? Good? Good. All right. Rum. Rum is awesome. I love it. Definitely. We actually went to an event that was it was called pirate. It was a pirate thing, yeah, where we went to a haunted location, which I'll talk about in this. And it was you dressed up as a pirate and you drank rum all night. It was so much fun. Surrounded by ghost hunters. So what I'm going to do today is just talk about some of the investigations that I did, the story that I got about it, what I did to figure out what was really going on. This is a very casual lecture. I wouldn't call it a lecture. I'm just going to tell you some stories. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them, because I want this to be open. Like I said, I don't really like a microphone. I usually talk like this, but I'll try. Whispers Estate was probably one of the first places that I went to where I was not a ghost hunter anymore. I really made my transition over to the skeptical side. And I've heard about this place. It was built in 1894. There was a whole bunch of information about the owners. There was a doctor that used it as his medical practice, his home medical practice, for a number of years. Then it changed hands. It became apartments for a while. It was rented as a boarding house for several years, and then it was left vacant. And then a local artist named Jarrett Marshall took it over in 2006-ish. There's conflicting reports on that. But apparently when he did renovations, weird things started happening. So he started hearing footsteps and seeing shadows and seeing balls of light in photographs and stuff. But the big claim that really caught my attention was that they were hearing voices. They were hearing voices. And anybody familiar with the ghost hunters and their procedures? You have something called EVP, which is electronic voice phenomenon. They take an audio recorder, they hit record, and they ask questions basically to the dark room, and they wait for something to come up. And it could be friction from your fingers holding the recorder, or it could be somebody coughing, or most of the time it's somebody's stomach growling because they're all hungry. We've had that a lot. But the main claim from this place was that there was a claim that there was a little girl singing Ring Around the Rosie. You didn't need a recorder. You could sit in the living room, this living room, and you could hear it. And it was something that was really cool. I heard about it, and I was like, all right, so you don't need a recorder. You could actually go and just sit down and actually hear this ghostly voice. You could also hear a ghostly baby cry. So there was apparently there was a story about Rachel, who was 10 years old, and she started a fire, which eventually killed her. And the story goes that I think it was around Christmas time where they had candles on the tree and started a fire. No evidence of that. I couldn't find any documentation on this little girl. But there's also another girl, Elizabeth, who was much younger, and apparently she died, and you can hear her crying in the same area. And I want to make it clear, like, all the witnesses told me, as long as you sat here, you could hear the voices coming from this area right there. So for years we heard about this place, and I really wanted to go. It's out in Indiana, which is a little far ride from Philadelphia. But we have friends out there. They were doing a live radio show, and they invited us out. So we went out for the weekend, and we got to stay there. And as we're going around, the first thing I noticed was that this, I don't know if this laser pointer works. Yes, it doesn't work on the screen. But if you're looking at the stairway here, this really stood out, this board right here. And this was a cover board. I noticed it was replaced. So that got me thinking, I'm like, all right, well, let me ask the people that are here. And we talked to the people doing the radio show, and then we had like 4 or 5 other people that were with us that had been there before, that had heard the voices. So I talked to them, and their description was that the singing voice came over with a metallic tin, like kind of like a microphone, like what you hear right now, and that they didn't hear it anymore because there was a new owner that took over. Let me see. In 2007, Van Reiner. He took over because he was a ghost hunter. He had been there, he heard voices, he had gone back pretty much every other weekend for an entire year until he talked to the owner and bought the house from him. When he bought the house, the voices stopped. Didn't hear him anymore. So that was a big deal to me. Like, all right, so a new owner takes over, don't hear him. And when I get there, I see this strange replaced board. So I had mentioned it to the other people that I was with, and I guess we had some weird stuff going on, noises, but it was like fans going, people walking back and forth. Nobody was paying attention. There was no science at all. I mean, if you've ever seen a ghost hunting show, that's pretty much what happened here. There's no science whatsoever. So I went to bed because I was actually getting sick. I was coming down with strep throat. So I went to bed early, got up in the morning, and the guys had actually taken the panel off for me. So we went in and took a look. And behind it was this chute that went down into the basement. And I want to draw your attention right here, this vent. This is supposed to be a heating vent for the house. That actually goes straight down to the basement. There's no vent attached to it. So naturally, I was like, all right, well, I want to get down there because that looks like a good place to hide maybe a recorder or a speaker or something like that. Let me go down and see what's going on. And so I did. I went down to the basement, and there was pretty much a basement area that was maybe half the size of this room, probably smaller, and then this crawl space, which I don't have pictures of it, but I did crawl back there. And this was probably only about maybe that high. So I crawled back there, got really, really dirty, and stuck my head up into the chute, which is right here. That popped up a stairway, and I started singing Ring Around the Rosie. And you had that metallic thing. It sounded like I was talking through a microphone. And the witnesses were like, yeah, that sounds exactly like it. Like, that's great. Okay, so I have a plausible cause, but I need something more. You know, I can't prove that this was a hoax just from that until I started looking around on the ground and found that. That is a Pioneer speaker. That was, there's a pillar right here behind it, and it was tucked right at the pillar. And the wires from here were strung straight down, buried under the ground, coming out into the basement area, which was really interesting to me. I'm like, all right, this is great. I found a speaker. This is awesome. There was also recording equipment and CD equipment in the basement. And I found out that the previous owner's brother, he did audio repair. So he fixed CD players. He fixed all this kind of stuff, and it was all set up in the basement, exactly where this wired speaker was going to. So basically, that's the information that I had. I figured it out. I was satisfied with that explanation because I had a speaker. I had a guy that could fix CD equipment. You could easily rig a remote to it, a simple RF remote to it, and you could play songs through it. I've only heard one recording of this girl singing Ring Around the Rosie, and it sounded exactly like what you're hearing from this microphone. So to me, I pretty much solved this case. We called the owner, who was pissed. He was very, very upset that, one, that we took apart the panel on the door or on the stairway, and then two, that we went down and found a speaker. Because he was very involved with this, and he thought they were genuine, but now he had a lot of doubts, and they were calling the previous owner to figure out what was going on. We've talked to them since then, the current owner, and we're not allowed back. Because I posted my results, I posted this, and a full report, and yeah, last time we saw him was at a conference in Louisville, and yeah, they were pretty angry with me because I wouldn't take it down. I wouldn't take my report down. So, yeah, we're not going back there. This was a viral video on YouTube. It's called The Screaming Hotel Ghost. It was posted in 2012. They claim to have taken this video in September 14th, 2003, and it has not been edited. That's my first clue. Whenever I look at a video, and it tells you in the beginning it has not been edited, rest assured it's been edited. I'm pretty sure. The guy that you see in the video is the only guy that appears in the video, this guy. It was sent to me dozens of times, which eventually made me look into it. It has been seen 11 million times, and it's got 11,000 comments on it. And when you go through the comments, most of it believe this is genuine. And there's a little bit that believes it's fake. And the people that think it's fake are very vocal about how they think it's fake. A lot of curse words and stuff. I won't get into that. I think I can play the video. If you want to see the video, you want to see it? I just got to find it.
Make sure it's upside down.
Oh, that'll be funny. There you go. Hasn't been edited. Pay attention to this guy. see the ghost?
Oh, yeah.
You see it now? Yeah.
Is the atmospheric music lends it credibility?
Yeah. Don't worry, it hasn't been edited though. All right. Switch it back, please. All right, so that was the video. It's, like I said, it's got 11 million views, over 11 million views, and it was sent to me dozens and dozens of times. Just saying, hey, can you look at this? What do you think of this? Because unfortunately for a lot of, I guess, ghost enthusiasts, this is genuine. And the biggest thing for me was that the audio was completely off. First of all, I've stayed at a lot of hotels, and because of my job, I've been able to talk to management because I'm a very friendly person, so I get to know the management. Hotel cameras in the hallways do not have audio. That's one thing. So all the audio on here was mixed in. Second, if you watched all the talking, the only guy in there that's talking on his microphone, half the time, well, all the time, it's garbled. And then half the time he talks, he's not keying the mic up. The other half, he is keying it up, but he's not talking. You don't hear him. There you go. Yeah, thank you. It also says that it was taken at a Wingate hotel. It tells you that it was in Illinois, though it doesn't tell you where in Illinois. So that was a big clue that something was up. He also gives you, well, there was an update on his video because people were asking him questions, and he said due to legal matters from the hotel that he was not allowed to tell you where the hotel was from. Bullshit. But as I looked into this more, and I saw what was, I was trying to figure out who the person was. Not only was the video off, but the ghost, and you all saw the ghost, right? Come out of the doorway. So cheesy. It was very B-movie kind of. It was horrible. So I looked up the guy that actually posted it, and he went by the username Jimmy Nut 22. That's who posted it. So I looked into him a little bit, trying to figure out who he is. And luckily, I tracked down this post and this screenshot, and where he actually says, "Hi, my name is Turner Clay," and he produced a movie called State of Emergency. And this thread was actually talking about the movie State of Emergency, and the guy gave it like a 6 out of 10. So I guess his a little bit of his vanity came through, and he commented he wanted to know, like, hey, this was my film, which gave me an idea, like, all right, great, I know who this guy is now. Let me go look for him. Looked him up, found that, yes, he does have an IMDb page, and he's listed as producing several short films, independent films. He's also listed as a sound department, director, writer, visual effects, camera and electrical department, cinematographer, composer, actor, music development. He does it all. I'm like, all right, so this guy does everything. So it's definitely possible that he created this video as a hoax. And this is the only picture I could find of him. And it looked familiar. Like, I'm looking at this going, this guy looks familiar. He looks very familiar. Why does he look familiar? Oh, that's why, because he's the guy in the video. And I don't know if he did it the same day, but he's wearing the same exact Ford Tough hat, baseball cap, and he's wearing the same exact lanyard. Plus, it's him. I mean, it was wow. That solved it for me. And I've tried to contact him and say, hey, I found out. This is it. Can you stop telling people? Because he actually posted on his videos yelling at people, telling people stop being stupid, stop being jackasses. Sorry, forgot there was a little kid. Because this is real. This is genuine footage, and he won't admit that it's a hoax. He has other videos on his YouTube channel. There's 2 other videos where he has the same exact ghost walking by. It's different scenes, but same ghost walking by. I mean, it's ridiculous. He also recently produced a film that he put on Amazon Prime called The Blackwell Ghost, and it's a paranormal activity style film. Have you seen that? Where it's like you use regular video cameras and you do it like a point of view, like this is real and it's really happening to us. So that's him again. He stars in it as a ghost hunter trying to find proof of ghosts. So I had another picture to match up with the elevator and the director photo that I found of him. The Xbox Kinect is something that's really been popular with ghost hunters lately. They saw it, again, in Paranormal Activity. They used it in a movie, I think 4 or 5 or 17, whatever number that they're up to now. They used it where they'd set it up and you could see a ghost or an alien, or I forget exactly what was in it. But ever since that movie came out, ghost hunters have used the Xbox Kinect now as one of their gadgets. And they're getting a lot of stuff. What it does is actually put out a speckle pattern like this all over the place, puts dots out. And the depth sensor reads all these dots, and it can tell where people are in the room. So when you set it up here, it can tell if you're standing in the middle of the room. And that's what it's supposed to do, because you're supposed to play games. You're supposed to dance and work out the character that you're playing on a video game through this thing. But ghost hunters, like these 2 idiots, are using it for ghost hunting. They go out to haunted locations, or what they believe is haunted, and they're saying that these stick figures that pop up under a desk, on a couch, and that is a TV tray with a soda bottle, that's a coffee table, and that is it's like a doghouse castle thing for small dogs. It's got a little doghouse and then a ramp that goes up. They're getting these strange things, these mutated stick figures, and they're putting it up and saying this is proof positive. So I started looking into it. And what I found was that it's what do I want to say? It looks at the environment. It's made for video games, okay? So when you set up this Kinect, when you set this up above or below your TV, it looks at the environment. You're not supposed to have any furniture in there for like an 8-foot wide by 12-foot wide area. There's no furniture, nothing. It's for 2 players to play. And the Kinect actually looks at you and says, okay, I see the 2 players, that's it. But if you have a chair or a lamp or even a vacuum in the way, look at that and mistake it for a person. It's very, very flawed in that way. And I've tried to explain it to ghost hunters. I'm like, hey, look, this is what happens. They're using it as a portable device. So they actually have it attached to a tablet on a handle, and they're walking around. Like these mansions and these old historic buildings, where you're supposed to, according to Microsoft, you're supposed to sit it down on a table and let it go, not move it around. But these guys are getting this, and as you can see, like this was actually done at a mansion that I know. This was a TV show that these guys did. And there was some boxes underneath a table, and it was picking it up thinking that it was a person, because it only sees like depth. It doesn't actually see people or body heat. It just sees physical objects that it bounces the dots off of. So anything like chairs, I'm going to show you. This is my living room. So that's a vacuum cleaner, and it picked it up and thought that was a person. These are bookshelves. It saw that and thought it was a person. Unfortunately, it thought my whole crotch area was a person. because it picked it up. I mean, that's a full stick figure there. And that's my entertainment center with a fireplace, and there were like Christmas cards or something on top of it where it thought it was a person. So it's making a lot of mistakes. And that was one of the mysteries that I really want to look into, because in addition to haunted houses, I look at the gadgets that people are using to try to figure out what's going on, because they're getting weird anomalies. I mean, these are mutated looking people, and I want to figure out what was going on. And I contacted Microsoft, I talked to them, and they told me that, yes, it's flawed, especially if somebody sits down. It has a lot of trouble with people sitting down. But the most important thing is that if the area is not free of furniture, it's going to pick up like the end of couches, it's going to pick up coat racks. My camera bag, a regular backpack camera bag, it can pick that up as a person. If it sees anything like that that has kind of depth, different depths, it will pick it up and think it's a person. White Hill Mansion. This was a place that we went to. It's known to have haunted activity, ghosts. They have ghost events. They have conferences, I think every year now, where they bring out paranormal people. Let's see, it was built in 1723. It's really cool. I mean, despite it looks run down, and when you get inside, it is run down. I won't lie to you. I mean, it is run down. There's a preservation society that's working to trying to restore it. They're doing a pretty good job. But you get inside, it's really cool inside. But we got there, we were called out because they were having a conference going on, a paranormal conference, and they contacted me and asked me to come out and investigate the place. And my first response was, you guys know I'm skeptical, right? Like, that I'm a skeptic? And they said, yes, that's exactly why we want you to come out. They're very open to it. Although they do get a lot of paranormal people coming out, and they make money off of these events, they're willing to entertain all ideas, and they want logical explanations too. So they're not just going to shoo me away. I said, that's great. So we came out, and there I am. I'm all excited because there's a bunch of ghost stories, and I really want to get inside. So a few of the stories, there wasn't a lot of testable claims. And one of the things when I go out to a haunted location, allegedly haunted location, I'd like to look up all the claims that are being made and see if there's actually anything that I can test. Can I actually do something that will replicate the experience that people had? This was one of the funnier ones because this is known as the Bloody Bathroom, and there was rumors that there were some psychics that came in and said that somebody, either a man or a woman, either was murdered or committed suicide in this tub. So take your pick, because that's all the stories cover everything. And there was a TV show called Ghost Detectives that came out, and several of the members of the show got into the tub and they claimed to be choked. They felt it, they acted it out. It was really bad acting. But that's why I wanted to go there. That's the first stop I wanted to go to. So we went, my wife sat in the tub, I sat in the tub. This is the pirate night that we were talking about that we went. So I was I was pretty wasted. So we were, I was like, yeah, I'm in the tub again, nobody's choking me. But that turned out, that was disappointing because I didn't get anything. It is a nice tub though, it's really, really large. So, but there's two claims in there that we could test. And one of them that was this bar that was in the basement. Apparently there's supposed to be a ghost behind there that anybody that goes behind the bar, you get pushed, pulled, scratched, you get feeling nauseous. It doesn't like you being back there. So, and especially doesn't like females back there, from what I hear. And we busted that pretty quick because, I mean, my wife's back there serving drinks. She's got a bottle of, I think that's vodka or rum. That's rum. Ready to go. And we spent a couple minutes back there just to see if there was maybe like mold or something like that was causing it, but nothing. So that was busted. And then the second one actually came from the woman that invited us out. She told us a story that when she was down in this bar area, she was behind the bar, And she went to reach for a drawer. There's a set of drawers down here. And as she pulled it open, there was a vase that got thrown at her head. And that's the description that she said. There was two friends of hers that were on the other side of the bar. So they were actually over here looking at her. But unfortunately, they were looking at their phones. They weren't paying attention. And she reached down, she opened the drawer, and she said that this vase, this one right here, flew. It was like it was picked up and thrown at her head and just missed her. So we talked to her some more, got information, and I broke down the details. Because when you get descriptions like this, what I find is people use descriptions that are more, I guess, dramatic than what really happened. Like she told us that the vase was picked up and thrown at her. She didn't actually see it. I asked, did you actually see the vase lift up in the air and come at you? No. Okay. So was it thrown at you like somebody throws a baseball? Or maybe it just fell and it just went past your head. And that was more of what she said, yes. Okay, it was probably more that it fell and it came through. So we had her set up the area just like it happened when she had the experience. And this is a dehumidifier that's up on the bar, which she said was there at the time. And that the hose and the paracord that you see here, right here, was right there. It was in her way. She had to actually lean over it to get to the drawer. The drawer that she was trying to get open was stuck, so she was using force. So my wife graciously went behind the bar, and we recreated the event and found out that if the vase was right here on the edge, anywhere near this, that as soon as she leaned over, it moved the hose, it moved the paracord, it hit the vase tipped over, hit the end of the bar, and actually went right by her head. And it came by with some force. So we recreated it, we actually put it on video, and then took it back to Dawn and showed it to her and said, this is what we were able to come up with. And she said, you got it. You solved it because that's exactly what happened to me. So that was nice because it was a haunted location that promotes himself as such. We brought back a logical explanation, we recreated it, and they were accepting of it, which is really nice.
That light's moving.
It's been moving all day.
Oh, yeah.
The vent. Yeah, you stopped me for a second. I'm like, all right, wait a minute, it is moving. Damn it. All right, here we go. We're getting into it. Over the years, I've investigated a lot of places, and I've also, with my video blog, I do videos on certain things, not just locations, but also gadgets. And the gadgets include a lot of weird things. Like the first one up here in the corner, table tipping. Anybody ever do that? Nobody? No? It's so easy. It's so easy. Have you ever seen it? You know what it is. All right, so when put this down for a sec. When spiritualism was coming about, spiritualism was from the Fox sisters. It grew because they claimed to communicate with a spirit, and from them, like this whole spiritualist movement really developed, and people, mediums and psychics, started claiming that they could have communication with spirits. And I guess the competition aspect of having seances gets the better of them, and everybody has to do something better. You have to one-up the next person. So that's why you had the seances, you had trumpets where this cone would float in the air and people would hear voices. Then you would have that ectoplasm. If you ever seen old pictures of seances, and they had this like cheesecloth kind of stuff coming out of every hole of person. It's disgusting. But it was more, everybody was trying to one-up each other. Table tipping was one of these things where they believed that if they put their hands on a table and they concentrated, they could talk to a spirit. And when they would ask questions, the spirit would make the table rise and fall, sometimes rock around. Houdini was involved with a lot of them, and he exposed some of the tricks that they did. But modern day table tippers use either a card table like this. I've seen them use this table, three-legged table. But it is incredibly easy to put your hands on the outside edge and just subtle pressure. You can actually lift up the legs. It's easier to bring it towards yourself and lift up the other end. And this table tipping is not just lifting up. My hands are flat on the top, and that's how I was able to actually move it up and down and have it balanced on one leg. I was spinning it with one hand, and it was really weird. And luckily I didn't break anything because she wasn't home. And I do a lot of this stuff when she's not home, just in case I do break stuff. And then I can try and fix it before she gets home. So the bottom picture here, I was doing poltergeist videos because there's a lot of videos that you see on YouTube and shared on social media where somebody is walking around with a camera or their phone and they're going around the scene like this, and certain things are flying, like doors are opening in the kitchen, chairs are moving, this and that. And I did an entire video where I could show you can do that with fishing line easily, especially when you're using older cameras. The new ultra high, like 4K cameras, it's much harder to do. You have to stay away. But as long as you turn the light out and you have just ambient light, you can rig fishing line all over a room. And I can pull all kinds of things, and you'll never see the line. But there's telltale signs. Most of the stuff opens, but it never closes because you can pull with fishing line, you can't push. I also did a video. I got a bunch of people together, and we played with a Ouija board. And I actually created this Ouija board myself because I didn't want to use a standard one. But I invited, we call him Jesus. His actual name's Mark, but he is getting his PhD in psychology. He is a chemist and biologist. She is an enthusiast, and, well, there's me. And we got together one night and just played with a Ouija board. Not trying to contact spirits. Well, I mean, we did just out of, because that's what we were doing. But mostly to see what would affect it. Like, why do people have this idea that this planchette is moving by itself? And one of the big things that we found was that it is extremely hard to keep your arms up. When you're holding your arms up like this, you have to keep your elbows off the table because if it starts moving around, you have to be able to follow it. It is extremely hard to keep your arms up in the air like that for an extended period of time. I mean, after 30 seconds, you can feel yourself wanting to go down. And in addition to that, you found that as soon as you start to rest, if you rest it before someone else, they're a little bit more of pressure, pushed it a little bit. And everybody said that you just had that feeling. Once you felt it move once, you went with it. So it wasn't a spiritual kind of thing moving it. It was pretty much us doing it because we were tired. Our arms were getting tired, we were getting lazy, and we started pushing it. Because it would just go to one side, and that was it. It wasn't going around and going to certain letters. It was going to one way. So we found that was probably one of the most common causes. Plus, it's mostly teenagers that play with it, or people that believe. So it's easy to put out a message and manipulate the other people in the group. This video actually had to do with Pepper's ghost effect. And that's something I explored because I've been finding more ghost hunters using that because it's a very simple way to make a ghost. And basically what you do is you set up a video camera. Again, like if this is the video camera looking out into the room, off to the side, you have a nice dark room or dark area. Like I would turn the lights out in this little cubby hole here and point the camera out at you. And then what I would do was take a window glass, and that's the window from the front door that I took out, again, when she wasn't home, and put at a 45-degree angle in front of the camera. The camera shooting through the glass doesn't see the glass. It sees the room. But if I'm in that little cubbyhole and I turn a flashlight on my face, it'll light up and it'll put a transparent image on there. It's just like when you're sitting in the car at night and you're driving along and you look out the window, you can see the subtle reflection of the inside of the car. The lights, the radio, digital display, you can see all that. That's Pepper's ghost. Really simple way of seeing a ghost. What else did I do? Oh, this was a place called Selma Mansion, and there was a TV show called Ghost Detectives. I think I mentioned it earlier. They put out an episode where they investigated this mansion, and this door, they had a camera on it, and for some reason it started opening. Wasn't me. It started opening, and then it closed. And they promoted it as like scary footage. Like, I can't believe we caught this on tape, because you could see the entire door. You could see top to bottom. You could see inside the room. So there was nobody there doing it. And yeah, one of my first impressions was that maybe it's fishing line. But then I actually saw the video. And you guys probably know this. Every spring, every fall, you open the windows up in the house, and you hear one of the bedroom doors slam, right? You hear that? Same thing here. You get that little motion where it's open, and then it comes all open all the way, and then closes, and all of a sudden, bam. That's what I saw in this video. And I approached them and said, hey, this is what I think it is. Interior, exterior, air pressure differences, and that's what you're getting. And I was told by a guy that used to be on the show, no, you're absolutely wrong. The entire house is sealed up. There's no air getting in at all. And I wish I had pictures of it, but I got permission to go to the mansion about 2 weeks after I told them what was going on, and I walked through. And it's an old mansion. They have windows that are like 10-foot tall windows, and one of them in the second floor are completely gone. There's trash bags over top of it, and you see the trash bags going in and out. I went up in the attic, the two windows on either side of the attic that are about 3 feet wide, gone. There's nothing there. So there's air coming in all over the place, and I sat there and watched the door going back and forth, and you could feel it. And I had to explain that, because they did a recreation video, one of the guys where he went into the bathroom, and he put a fan, a small, like a 10-inch fan, on the sink and pointed it at the door and tried to show me that, look, you can't blow the door with just air. So I had to explain that when you have interior, exterior air pressure differences, there's air coming in the entire room, and that air pressure is acting on the entire door instead of just a fan blowing on one part. So I actually had to look that up because I didn't know that. I didn't know how that worked. But I looked into it. It was fascinating. I learned a lot just from that cause. And this last one was called Charlie Charlie. I don't know if you've heard of that. It was something going around. Kids were doing it. They were basically taking a piece of paper like this, drawing a cross on it, and putting yes, no, and they would put one pencil down on the line and then put another pencil on top of that. They would balance it, just like I have here, and they would ask it questions. It was kind of like a Ouija board kind of thing. They would ask it questions, yes or no questions, and the pencil would move. Found out that we demonstrated, I got it with my friend Anna Hill here, and we were talking about it and talking about how easy it is to balance the pencils, and then just by talking and the air coming out of your mouth, you're blowing on the pencils. And I think if you've ever seen James Randi, he did tricks like this on Johnny Carson, like long time ago. He did this. Somebody was trying to do the same kind of thing. But we eventually found out that it was a hoax and that it was promotional videos for a movie that was coming out, like a horror movie. UFOs? Oh boy. Years ago, I had the opportunity to investigate some UFO claims. Bill Weber, who was this older guy here, he contacted me after, actually I talked to Dan Medlicott. He contacted me about some UFO photos to look at because I do specialize in photography and weird things in photographs. So Dan contacted me. I went out on an investigation with him, found out that the witness was mistaken where the airport was in their neighborhood. So they were taking pictures of planes taking off and landing. Yeah. So a quick Google Maps search, I was able to figure out, like, all right, well, the airport's right in line where these pictures were taken. So this is pretty much what they're getting. So after that, I was contacted by Bill Weber, who is he was one of the like district managers of MUFON. And I went out on a case with him because he sent me pictures from a woman that lived on a farm. Oh, there we go. So this is the woman that lives on the farm. Sent me this photograph and said that she took this picture of outside because she saw something that looked like the moon, between the moon and the sun, landing in her field out here. She did this. This is one of her pictures too. She sent me this picture saying that this was it during the day and that this thing landed in her field right here and that she saw it take off. And she was able to take these two pictures. So I went out there with the MUFON team. This is the witness standing in front of the window where she took it. And one of the claims also was that nothing grew in the circle where the craft landed. This is the circle where it landed. Can you see that? I want to just make note that there's a lot of stuff growing in that circle. But what I found when I talked to her some more, I was actually asking her questions as she was sitting here and noticed that her phone was over here. And I asked if I could see it. And she handed it to me. And I noticed, okay, this looks odd. It looked like the picture. So I enhanced the original photograph that she sent me. And if you look right here, this is this right there. So yes, she was taking pictures through her window. And the first thing that really got me was this. All these little tiny orbs. So I've taken so many pictures through glass that I kind of got the knack, like, all right, well, if I see that, to me, that means a dirty window. They're shooting through a window. That was my first clue. And then when I enhanced it a little bit and saw the silver border, I was like, oh, I know what that is. That's her phone. So you can actually see the lens. Like I said, this is the silver part, and this is the camera lens right here, and then her flash right below it. And then the other picture that she had taken, again, she took it during the day through the glass using the flash. So, yeah. And I also, what I don't really promote is that this was, to me, a hoax because I started questioning her on this. And as she's writing down on the table, she's writing right here, filling out a report, I could see her, like, laughing. Like she was laughing a little bit, which really, again, it pissed me off because me and then these two other investigators spent hours. I mean, it was a 2-hour drive just to get there. And then they spent a couple hours looking at the site, looking at the location where it allegedly landed, and then figuring out what happened, like asking her questions and stuff. So this was an all-day affair that we wasted because this person wanted to play a joke or wanted attention. I don't know what her problem was, but yeah, she was. Next, Bigfoot. I've had the opportunity to look for Bigfoot a couple times, and I treat this more as a fun kind of excursion. There's been 3 times when I've gone out. A friend of mine, Eric Altman, right here. He is in the Bigfoot community. He does these searches and stuff a lot. He also organizes a Pennsylvania Bigfoot camping weekend. There's been 2 of them. There is none this year, but there's going to be another one next year. But I've been to both of them, and this is our group at both of them. And what he does is go out and he gets a lot of vendors, and we do hikes at night into areas that they supposedly see Bigfoot. I haven't found them at all. I did argue. I went out for a TV show that was done, and this is me arguing with a very nice guy, and Eric, who was telling me that a good sign that a Bigfoot is in the area is if you see a tree limb at a 45-degree angle propped up against another tree. Okay? Yeah, you're laughing. That was it. And this is the conversation right here is me going, that doesn't mean shit. It means that a tree limb fell down. And the gentleman in the white shirt is telling me that, no. These tree limbs are about that thick, and there's no way a human could pick them up. They're too heavy. To which I responded an hour later when we were in the woods, walking up to one that was about 40 feet long and going, oh, look at that. These are all dead trees. I mean, we found quite a few of them, and this scene on the TV show, I'm actually going out to look at a few of them. But they're pretty much dead trees that have fallen over during storms, and they just get, I mean, there's a ton of them on the ground, but a few of them happen to land in the branches of other trees, and they get stuck there. So, yeah.
Did you ever, including that, did you ever investigate anything that turned out to be real?
Oh, the Wookiee from Endor.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a good one. There was a Bigfoot. I mean, you're serious, right? Because there was a case like that. There was. Real is subjective in this because there was a guy that claimed to have taken a picture of Bigfoot, and we took the picture, enhanced it, and found out that it was a Chewbacca mask that he had painted a darker color. So it was a real mask that he was wearing out in the field. But as in, I guess you're asking more of like, have I investigated a ghost or Bigfoot that turned out to be real? No, I haven't. I mean, there's plenty of cases where I've investigated and haven't come up with a conclusion, but the reason is because I don't have enough information. I didn't come up with, yes, this was a ghost, because I would be famous. I would be everywhere. But no, I haven't found anything that came out to be real.
Would you be willing to claim that all UFO sightings are fictitious, that there is not any possibility that there have been?
No, I can't. Because that, for me, that would be a pure assumption. Because I unless I investigate every case, I don't know. I mean, there's always the possibility. And I can't just say no because then I'm making a conclusion. I'm making up a conclusion. On the other side of that, for example, when I investigate places that are allegedly haunted, and people are telling me, well, this place is haunted. Well, you're making a claim there. So, okay, show me the proof. If I say all UFO reports are fake, I have to provide some kind of evidence for that. I have to provide data. So if I can't do that, then I can't do that. I'd rather go out and look and take a look at the details and see what I can find before I make a conclusion. Is that good? Okay. Yes?
There's the opposite of that. Carl Sagan said he's dead a long time, there's never been any iota physical concerning UFOs or whatever.
Right.
So there's an opposite, I don't know if that's a conclusion, but it's a premise. There has never been.
There's never been evidence that we've seen a civilization or they've come here. Yes, I agree. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any evidence, a shred of data that says they've come here.
But you're dealing with willing people, willing to believe or complete,
Yeah.
trying to pull something over you. You're either...
The authority for the claim relies on the person making the claim.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's, I usually try to push it back on them. If they make a claim, yeah, show me what you have. Show me what you got. You know, if you think this place is haunted, show me why you think that's haunted. If you think a UFO landed in your farm field, show me why.
Well, as humanists, we reject these kind of things because we don't have a willingness to believe.
I don't reject because I don't believe. I reject because the evidence sucks. I think that's what I would go for.
Different things. I don't want to beat it to death.
Okay. I'm not sure where you're going with that, but we can talk afterwards.
The UFO is unidentified flying object, and there are certain unidentified flying objects.
Right. I mean, you can look up in the sky and see a plane that you kind of gather it's a plane, but you can't see it. So it's just a dot.
Hate to interrupt. If we're doing questions, I'd rather have them on the mic so that they can be picked up by the video. So let's go to Richard, and then we'll come back to Laura.
Well, scientifically, there is a greater likelihood that we might be visited by people from other planets than there's a likelihood of somebody coming from the great beyond to come and see how we're doing or scare us.
I would lean that way, yeah. I mean, I hope there's something out there, like on other planets. I mean, we've had conversations where I've told my wife, like, I'm bummed out when I start thinking deeply about the closest planet to us that might be habitable, I'll never get to. And I get bummed out just thinking about that. Yes?
When it comes to UFOs,
I'm sorry, were you next? I'm sorry. I'll get you next.
when it comes to UFOs, the only thing that I keep thinking is if we had the technology, we would be putting our noses in everybody's planet. And if we landed somewhere and saw life, do you think we would back off and say, oh, let's let these people alone? We would be studying and poking and prodding. And so I think, look at how anxious we are to go to Mars. If there are civilizations out there brighter than us, I would have to think they would be exploring.
I would hope that if we discovered life on another planet, that we would follow the Star Trek Prime Directive and just observe a lot until we've learned enough about their culture.
You think we would do that? I mean, I would hope too.
I don't.
Do you really think we would do that?
From my point of view, I see a lot of scientists like me. We're geeks. We're geeks. So I could totally see the first scientist going, we should follow the Prime Directive. We should totally do that. But you're right. The politics might get into it and say, no, let's exploit the hell out of it.
What can we steal from this planet? Yeah.
I don't know. I would hope that we would back off and just observe and learn until we're ready to make contact. Because, I mean, what do you think would happen if, something popped down, big mothership popped down? I think we would start shooting. Yeah. How to serve man. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Any other questions? I mean, I'm done. Yeah, she has a question.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A until I don't think the food's here yet.
I'm done with my presentation, so we can talk.
So that's obviously haunted today too.
It's all my fault.
Okay, I have, my deceased husband had a college MIT person who had his PhD in education. And he keeps on sending me this stuff about life after death and how people die during surgery and they say that they've gone to the light and back. And
Okay.
do you have any response? Because I have told him I don't believe it. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, but he still sends it.
It's so much nicer when the audience curses first, and then I feel so much more at ease. Like, I agree. I think it's bullshit.
Don't worry, Phil Ferguson set a standard when he was here. I think he said the F-bomb 200 times, so we're good.
Okay, I won't be that bad. Those kind of experiences I've read about, near-death experiences, yeah. And there was a book by Mary Roach called Spook, which is a real good book. She goes into that and some of the studies that have been done where certain hospitals had actually put messages on top of shelving units for if this experience happened, it was right there. Like if you're floating above your body and looking down, you'd be able to see these messages. And as far as I know, no one has ever given the message or any of the messages. Right. There's a lot of things, and I'm not a scientist, so this is not my area of expertise, but there's a lot of stuff that happens when you're dying. And what's real, what's not, I have to go with what Well, you have to look at all the accounts, and sadly, the data you have is good, but most of the information is anecdotal. So it's what the patient tells you, and the patient was under. The patient was under anesthesia. They were drugged. They were out of it. They were dead. I don't know what they were looking at. I go to sleep at night, and sometimes I have wild adventures, but I'm the only one that knows that I did, and I really didn't because I was still in bed. So, who's to say what's really going on? The claim that it's a near-death experience, I think it just goes in with all those other beliefs of ghosts and UFOs and conspiracy theories sometimes. It just goes with there. Until we get more data and we can actually establish something or recreate it and have somebody find the message on top of the shelves and give it to us, and, what font was it in? If they can tell us that'd be great. But until then, no.
What was the name of that book?
Spook, by Mary Roach. She's an entertaining author. I haven't had the chance to meet her yet, but she is entertaining, funny, and practical. You can read real serious stuff, and she makes you laugh.
I had read a few articles that kind of explained about those near-death experiences from a scientific and a psychology explanation. I find it really interesting to read those scientific explanations on it. But seeing the bright light is when your brain's deprived of oxygen. You start to see a bright light in front of you. So that's one of the common explanations on that. And seeing yourself from above when they describe hovering and looking down at themselves, that's dissociation, which is a well-known condition in psychology, and that can happen under traumatic stress. And that's something people not dying can experience as well. So they've given that same explanation of I see myself from above, because you remove yourself from a situation, and so you see it that perspective. So those are some of the explanations I've read through articles, so just kind of adding that in to explain some of that. So I find it interesting just reading those explanations. But.
Also, we need to talk after the meeting a little bit more.
We have one in the back, one in the front, and then I'll come back to you, Sue.
Me and some friends are interested in doing paranormal investigation. What advice would you give to people that want to get into that field?
Don't watch the TV shows. Don't read websites from them. The first thing I would do another book recommendation, Scientific Paranormal Investigation by Benjamin Radford. I would get that because Ben he's a friend of mine. I've known him for a couple years now, and his method of going about looking at paranormal claims from a scientific point of view is great. I've used his method a lot, where basically a rundown is when you get a claim, look at the claim, look who said it, what's your source, and then I write a list about all the possible causes I can think of that would make that experience, and then start doing research off of that. And that will lead you in a whole bunch of different directions. I would stay away from TV shows unless you're doing research on a specific topic. Like I do, I watch TV shows only when I have to do it because I'm doing like a certain thing, like the White Hill Mansion that I investigated. I wanted to know all the claims that were coming from there. I wanted to know what people were saying about it. Or if I'm investigating a certain gadget, like the Xbox Kinect, then I'll watch TV shows that have to do with that. Otherwise, I can't stand them freaking shows. They suck. I would the book, I would look at the skeptical material along with the history. Don't always take for granted that the tour guides at historical sites give you accurate information. I've found that although they have best interests at heart, a lot of times when it comes to the paranormal stories, they're wrong. The history that they associate with the ghost stories is completely wrong. Not sometimes wrong, sometimes completely fabricated. And it's because they've rehashed stories they've heard from other people. So always check that stuff. If you read articles, if you read books that have to do with the paranormal, make sure that they have references in the back. That's something simple that you can do. Because a lot of the books that I've picked up over the years are basically a ghost hunter's opinion, a UFO hunter's opinion, and there's no way to check their work. Well, you can. It just takes you hours and hours and hours more than if they reference their work.
The book you mentioned, that's the one that you contributed to?
Scientific paranormal investigation, I am referencing there because I sent him a book that I did. It was a self-published book, so it's not available anymore, but it was on photography. And he references what I did in the book and uses it throughout the book. And then he's doing a follow-up. You might want to wait because he's doing a follow-up book that should be out later this month or next month, where I wrote an entire section about photography and also contributed. Apparently, I'm in like different parts of the book. I don't know when. I haven't seen the finished product. But yeah, if you wait a month or so and then keep updated on that, that would be the place I start.
I was at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado when Ghost Adventures was there, Zach and Aaron and them. That was...
Sorry to hear that.
It was interesting. It was fun.
I'm sure it would be fun to meet him. I'd throat punch him. I can't stand that guy.
I had a bottle of red rum beer at their bar.
All right, we had a hand up here in the front, I think, and then I'll get back to Sue after you.
Zach is like the Jim Carrey of the paranormal, totally overacting.
I think it's all just about making a buck. I mean, this is just sort of an industry that feeds off itself. And, why don't you just leave them alone? You're giving them credence by arguing with them.
I don't understand what you're asking me.
The fact that you're taking this seriously.
I take it seriously.
Because you can say, you can talk and say, look, this is nonsense, and I can prove it. But there are always going to be people who fall for this stuff.
There will be, and that's in everything.
But what makes me upset is that they're making money off people.
Yeah, and that's why I keep doing this. I mean, from my perspective, when I went from ghost hunter to skeptic, I actually went from ghost hunter to cynic. I bypassed skeptic and went all the way, and I was very angry, and I was, you made a claim, and I was on you. I went to Vince because I wanted to fight you, not physically, but I wanted to make you look stupid, which is the completely wrong way to do it. And I've learned more over the years, like just talk to people, because you're right, there is a lot of money involved. People buy equipment that are, quote, designed for ghost hunting. Bullshit. It's not designed for ghost hunting. It's people take stuff off the shelf, they slap a new sticker on it, and then sell it to ghost hunters. Especially if it's black. Oh my God, that's it. If it blacks, makes noise, and lights up with LEDs, you gold mine. I mean, that's it. That's the standard for ghost hunting business. Hundreds, thousands. I mean, people spend so much money. The Connect thing that you can buy, I can buy one of those at a flea market for $5. But when you buy the whole set, you're talking almost $1,000 that ghost hunters pay. I mean, it's ridiculous. But from my perspective, I'm trying to save people this money because, yes, there's going to be people that are diehard believers. They're going to buy it no matter what. They're going to do this stuff no matter what. No matter what I say, doesn't matter. But there are people that are on the fence, and I think there's a lot more people that are on the fence. And they want to talk to somebody that is more informed. They want to talk to somebody like me who's on the other side that's looking at it. Because I'm not calling people's names, except, Zach, who's an asshole. I'm looking at the people in the claims and saying, all right, you believe it because of like maybe the way you were brought up, what you've been reinforced through your family and friends, and this and that. So you have that belief system and you can't shake it yet. So let's sit and talk. And I try to get them to come up with alternative ways for experiences to happen. Let's look at what you saw down the hallway at a haunted insane asylum. Let's talk about what could have been down there. What could have made that noise? Why this gadget? Why are you using this? Did anybody do product testing? Did you look on Consumer Reports? It won't be there because it's ghost hunting equipment. But did you look at the data? Did anybody test this? Where's the bulk data that we need to understand how this works? How does it work? Xbox Connect. Microsoft put it out. Call Microsoft. I contacted them. They talked to me. Anybody can do it, but it's so much easier to just go to the websites and stuff. So when we start talking about this and get into it and get into the details, and then I can demonstrate it, and even better when I have them demonstrate it. Like, take your camera. You take your camera, you take a picture here, and tell me what you got. And when they see it, like, I got some lens flare. Holy crap. Okay. And you see the light bulb. Bing. It's great. It's great. So that's why I keep doing it. I mean, it's going to happen anyway, but if I can help a few people save a few bucks and maybe embarrassment, I'm all for it.
I'm going to give the last question to Sue, and then we're going to set up for lunch. But Kenny, you're sticking around, right?
Yeah, I'm
People
sticking
have
around for lunch,
questions.
so I will still answer questions, even if
right.
I don't have a microphone.
So, Sue, you've got the last question, and then we'll drag some tables into the back.
She looks determined.
Not really a question, but when I was in high school in the ancient 60s, the olden days, I was quite interested in the short stories of H.G. Wells. And regarding this near-death experience, he wrote a short story called Under the Knife, which I enjoyed very much. And it does describe a near-death experience. And I just thought it might be something interesting for people to read. I don't know how many people read the short stories of H.G. Wells. Also, you find a lot of things that later appeared in Star Trek and such in him. And I don't know exactly what age he wrote in, probably the end of the 1900s, and I'm 1800s and beginning of the 1900s. I believe he was also a humorist.
I love the stories, and I have a whole collection. I mean, I have a home library I have over 1,000 books just in my house. And I collect them all, and I love ghost stories. I love UFO stories, Bigfoot stories. I still read them all, and I love the classic. H.G. Wells. I love Freudian. I mean, I love all this stuff because even though it's entertainment, and that's how I see like H.G. Wells, more entertainment, but you kind of get the idea where some of these modern-day beliefs came from. When you start looking into for instance, the EVP that I talked about in the beginning of the talk, there's a podium, electronic voice phenomenon, where people are hearing ghosts and they're recording them on tape. There's a theory, and I use that loosely, called the stone tape theory, where like the materials in the area, if a traumatic event happens, you know, all these electrical impulses escape your brain and imprint on the materials around you. I started as a ghost hunter with that idea. I heard that from ghost hunters. I thought that's how it happened. And I repeated it. Embarrassingly, I repeated that. But Sharon Hill, who does, she does a website called Doubtful News, and she does a podcast. She actually went through and researched the crap out of that and traced that idea to a movie called The Stone Tape. And it's an old black and white movie. It's horrible. I mean, it's a horrible movie. But it's actually entertaining. I mean, because it's a bunch of scientists that go to an old castle because they want to do some research, find a new method of recording, like video and audio, and they stumble upon this recording of a ghost. And only some people can hear it. Some people can see it. The ghost appears, but not everyone sees it. The ghost screams. Not everyone hears it. Some people don't hear anything. And it's just an interesting look at it, and it's like, all right, we can trace that theory back to that movie. And it was pure fiction, but that set the stage. You know, people saw it. The idea started getting into pop culture. Boom. Ghostbusters came out in 1984. 4 guys using gadgets to catch ghosts. What's that sound like? Every modern TV show with ghost hunting. That's where it was born from. It's an amazing thing. So, yeah, I think stories like that are important because, I mean, it's important for entertainment, but it's important for us to trace back to find out where ideas came from.
Kenny, I really appreciate your talk, and I just wanted to say that I think it's pertinent that you go to relevant prior sources. And I was thinking about, you know, times before we had video and film and all of those things, and we had things like books. So in your context of your paranormal research, where do you stand on the New Testament?
Double plus bonus points for Richard.
I can say that I have, among my many books, I probably have like two dozen versions of the Bible. Because I collect them. I collect old ones and stuff like that.
Every hotel I go to.
I'm not going to say I do that, but
So
I do
have you
that.
ever dealt with the apologetic claim that a ghost has said that he's true? So then it must be true, just like the Bible says it's true, so it must be true.
Just like if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Kenny, for coming. The food, I don't think, is quite here yet. If anybody wants an appetizer, please come up and help yourself to that or some other refreshments here. But first, please help me thank Kenny Biddle.
I want to say, if I stumbled in the beginning, I apologize, because I literally completed this presentation last night. Because I had started a new job last year, and these last 2 weeks have been nonstop, like 10, 12-hour days, and I was nervous. I was like trying to get it done, so I might have stumbled in the beginning because I didn't have all the information in. I work for a company that does x-ray machines for hospitals, so I run from hospital to hospital and fix and maintain x-ray machines, like the big ones. So, but yeah, it was hectic, and I was literally up last night. I don't know what time, like trying to finish up getting right pictures, and so I could show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And the food is here, so how about that timing? All right.